Hello everyone, Edna Keep here. It's 10 a.m. Friday morning and we are live for our Free Coaching Friday. So welcome everyone, and please bring up some questions. I do have a couple here in front of me that people sent me over last night. I guess I can't be on the call, so they wanted to oh, sorry about that. My noisy dog in the background. They wanted to ask up front, and then they'll listen to the recording. So that's always an option for you too. Just gonna go let my dog outside so she's not so driving us crazy. So yeah, what's everyone doing on this beautiful Friday rainy morning in Regina? At least we don't have snow. I heard that there's snow in Toronto today. They're expecting snow, so they can keep it. We can go without it, right? So if anyone has any questions, please shout them out on here. One of the questions that came up here last night that somebody sent over to me was, I need to cash out on some of my properties. I have a triplex up for sale and I'd like to keep it, but it does need repairs and my credit got completely trashed after my divorce. Do you have any ideas of how I can tap my equity with having bad credit? You know what? One of the ideas that I would give you if you don't want to sell it is maybe bring in a joint venture partner and just talk about the challenge that you're having, and that you've got the opportunity to bring in a joint venture partner who maybe would get 25% of the deal or 50%. You figure it out because you know how much money you need, and they can make it worth their while and make it worth your while. Because you know what, when you sell and your credit's bad and you can't get new properties, then you're kind of out of the game. So I'd prefer to own half a property to bring in a joint venture partner than not own any properties. So I hope that helps. One of the things that we found is after we got about 15 houses in our name, we can't get mortgages anymore either, not for houses. And we're even struggling to get them refinanced a little bit because of what's going on in the market. And so our focus has been on apartment buildings. But with that said, we're just keeping our houses because we can't, if we sold one, we would just have to pay it out and keep our cash or get taxed on it. So there's just no point. I mean, we got some really good prices in the past. They're cash flowing, and you know, the odd time we got to put some money in because vacancies are a little higher. But you know what? It's still better than ending up with no property at all. So that would be my little piece of advice there. Okay, any more questions on here? Hi, Juanita. Hi, Mary. Hi, Logan. Hi, Danny. Great, perfect. Well, glad to see we've got a few people on here. Okay, now here's another question I have. We have someone interested in investing with us as a silent partner, and we pay them a percentage return on their money, but want to avoid the whole bit about second mortgages on the property, etc. Can they just buy a share of the company that paid a set dividend under pre-established terms? You know what, you can, but you know what, you're going to have a fair amount of legal fees to change that company shares. Personally, I'd probably just put a second mortgage on. It'd probably be cheaper for you. Not understanding totally why you want to avoid the second mortgage. So if you hear this and you want more detail on that, please get back to me and I'll finish answering it for you. But what's the downside for you of putting the second mortgage? Because sometimes I do totally understand that sometimes there is reasons why you don't want to do that. But until I know what they are, I would stay away from selling shares of the company. But again, depends on the type of company you have. It might be a good idea. Okay, hi, I've just seen a couple more people join. Hi, Judy, nice to see you on here. Hi, Rob, how are you? I see a question there, but I'm just gonna answer this one here. Before I get into that one. Okay, the next question is, I'm hoping to get some advice or perspective. While holding a flexible but full-time job, how many properties can one manage on their own before using a property management company? I currently have one duplex and I'm about to close on a single family and an additional duplex. So that's 5 doors. I'm a bit concerned about what that would mean in terms of my time commitment while still working full time. You know what? That's a really good question. And now's a great time to be asking yourself that, because from my experience, what I find is that if people get 4 properties and you're dealing with 4 sets of tenants, and so that's really 4 doors, you're signing leases, you're doing mortgages, you're doing the repairs and maintenance, all that kind of stuff. 4 doors is about your limit. And I've seen that personally with lots of people. You know, they started at the same time as us. They wanted to save some money, so they did not pay any property management. And we meet like 5-6 years later and they're stuck at 4 doors and they're going, how the heck did you get so many doors? And we said, you know what, from day one we got property management. We knew we were going to grow, and we knew that, well, first of all, it just wasn't a job we wanted to do. We didn't want to be dealing with tenants and toilets. Neither of us are handy, so it just didn't work for us. So it was part of our business plan from day one. But what I recommend for people is, you know, even if you think you're going to manage your first few properties because you want to save the money, put in your analysis money for property management and then pay yourself. And then if you start and you want to grow further, then take that money and pay someone else, because it is very time consuming. And not to mention, I think another thing that happens is you get overwhelmed with the calls. You get overwhelmed with all the day-to-day dealings on a property. And that's why you need to hire property management and hire out repairs and maintenance. So hope that answers your questions and gives you a few good ideas about why we did it and how many you think you can manage. You know what? At the same time, I've known people who've done with flexible jobs. I've known people who've done it. So it kind of depends on what kind of lifestyle you want to lead. If you want to be busy doing it all the time, that's one thing. We didn't. So that's a good point. Okay, so I've got, I'm going to just stick my glasses on here for a second and see if I can read the questions, because they're not showing up on my laptop like I practiced yesterday with my team. So we'll see what happens here. Okay, Rob says, how easy is it to set up a separate company for each apartment building? That's a good question, Rob. You know what? We set up a new company for every property that we buy. We put it in the closing costs, so we make sure we raise enough money from our investors to cover it. A lot of it, the legal fees cost is, you know, title transfer, different stuff like that is some of the things that are based on the cost of your building. But if you talk to your lawyer, it will cost you less than $2,000 to set up a corporation. And you know what? People, again, a lot of people just do it themselves. You can go online and set up a corporation all on your own. Just make sure that you're aware of how you want to set up the structure so that it's done properly. So that's a really good question. But yeah, to me, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it having that separate corporation and paying the legal fee. So hope that helped. Damien says, oh, first time watching your live feed, we can't see your whole face. Okay, you know what? I'm probably holding my phone up too high. Is that better? Does that work? Okay, thanks for that comment, Damien. I am relatively new at this, so I don't get all that kind of stuff right. The first time I did it, I was sideways because I didn't realize that my phone was upside down, so I was like this. But that's okay. That's what you guys are here on. You can help me do that kind of stuff. Marja says too, I can't see all of your face. So now, is that better? Okay. And Rob says, thank you for the value bombs. Okay, absolutely. Love to be able to help. So anyone has any more questions, please type them in. Gilly says, and I hope I said that right. Is it Jilly or Gilly? Thank you. You've come a long way since we met in 2006. I still have your card on my fridge. Good advice. Well, thank you so much, Gilly. Have you bought any properties since we met? Much better, Marcia says. Okay. I'm just not a glasses person, so I was hoping to get away with wearing them, but oh well. Got to get over the vanity, right? Okay, I got another question here that someone sent in. I'm relatively new to the investing world, and I'm wondering how to leverage my home mortgage to get another property. What percentage equity on a $130,000 property would I need? I don't have anything picked out, but I'm not in a position to save very much monthly. Okay, well, that's a good thing to know. You know what? We have a lot of investors that start out by using the equity out of their home. And in Canada, at one point we could go up to 95% on our home property. So your state, your province, everything could be different. So you're going to have to find that out from a local mortgage broker. And you know what? I would just Google mortgage broker in my area and say, how much down do I need on a rental property? So generally on a rental property here in Canada anyway, it's 20%. If the market's not real healthy, sometimes they'll go as high as 30%. So keep that in mind too. But so say it's 20% on a $130,000 property. So real quick, how I calculate that is 130,000 times 10% is 13 times 2 is 26. You need $26,000. So what I would do is when I go to the bank, I tell people, get your home equity line of credit as high as it can go. You don't need to spend it, and you only pay interest on the money you take out. So when you're calculating your property to buy this, so it's $130,000 property, so you're going to put $26,000 down, but keep in mind you've got your closing costs, your legal costs, and all that sort of thing. So you want to have a little bit more for that, and you should know your legal fees with your lawyers. But you know, I always put a reserve fund aside in each bank account for each property. So if it's a single family home, $2,500, $5,000, you'd have to figure that out how much you need. But that's I would always get the maximum, because every time you get an appraisal and refinance on a property, it costs you money to get that done. So get it done once and then just leave the line of credit there. And also keep in mind that don't use any of that line of credit personally, because if you do, you're crossing that gray line, and lenders will then be looking at how much of it used as personal, how much used it as business. And if you can keep it as business, it's all tax deductible. And if you use it as personal and say go out and buy a new TV, well then you've got to establish how much of it is now personal, how much is business. So keep that, and some lines of credit actually watch that for you, so be aware of that as well. Jilly says, yes, I have bought some properties. Okay, perfect. Well, that's so good to know. Tell me about them. Is it single family home, or is it an apartment building? Damien's asking, why does establishing a separate corporation for each building make more sense than just adding to an existing corporation? Okay, that's a really good question. And you know what? There's kind of a twofold answer there. One is, each corporation gives you a separation from being able to, kind of protect your property from liability or litigation or anything like that. So if you have different joint venture partners in a corporation, you have to have a separate corporation. You can't just add. Now, if you have the same joint venture partner or it's just your own existing corporation, you can. We have several houses under our company, 3D Real Estate. With apartment buildings, we've always brought in different joint venture partners. Sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 12, so depending on the size of the building. So you just want to know that they're going to sign a joint venture agreement, they're going to be on title, they're going to be on the mortgage, and they don't want it tied up with any other buildings if anything happens. And if anything happens with one building, you want to make sure that not all your buildings are tied up because you have a challenge with one. Does that make good sense, Damien? we also keep a separate bank account for every single property too. And again, it's just easier. If you keep a certain amount of money in a bank account, you don't have any fees anyway. And it's like the bank's doing all your accounting for you each month. You try putting 10 properties in one bank account, it's going to be really hard to figure out which property is making money and which one isn't. So keep it all separate. And if the bank does it for you, you know, even if you don't have much money in your bank account, what is it, like $9 a month or something like that? And if you go with, I think it's President's Choice, CIBC, they have a no-fee service. So keep that in mind too. I'm a realtor, Juanita says, I'm a realtor in Regina. In your opinion, do you think that the new federal government's soft stress test is going to affect, okay, oh, I know what you mean by that. Soft stress test is going to affect investors and flippers, and etc. Yeah, you know what, it will, because they're going to stress test for 5% down. You know what, a lot of times I tell my students to stress test their own properties at 5%. Not 5% down, 5% interest. I tell them to stress test their own because it's always nice to have a bit of a buffer. But yeah, it's going to affect people, especially ones who are walking that fine line. And you know, the government's getting ready to increase interest rates. So we want to be ready and know that we're not going to lose those properties because we didn't stress test them ourselves. Okay, just seeing what else I got for questions on here. Does anyone else have any questions? I see Janelle has joined. Hi, Janelle, welcome. Okay. Good morning, Mike. How are you? He says my glasses look great. You know, if you've never worn glasses your whole life, it's only been in the last few years that I've absolutely have to wear glasses. I used to be able to keep them in my office and I could read most things. Now I just can't. I can't read anything without my glasses on. So I skipped the vanity this morning and I just thought, what the heck? I'm just going to read it because I don't have my helper on this morning. They had another meeting, so they weren't able to hop on. And we did a test yesterday, you know, to see if I could bring up Facebook Live on my computer so that I could kind of watch for the questions that were coming up. And for some reason, it's not showing me. And I don't know what we did yesterday that made it work different from today. So that's perfect. Oh, good morning, Rob. How are you? Rob has a good question. He says, can you use their line of credit as a way of financing without actually paying the interest on that line of credit? I don't think so. No, if you're taking money out of your line of credit to use it for a down payment, you have to start paying interest on it right away. And I hope that's I hope I understood your question the way that you wanted it to. Good morning, Janice. How are you? Welcome. What else do I have for questions? Okay, let's see here. Does anyone else have any questions? I sure love to be able to answer them. I got to give you guys some good news then. So two young fellows in my mastermind, Tyler and Bailey, they're 19 and 20, got their first apartment building on the go. And so they were at the Profit in the Prairies meeting on Wednesday, and they were quite excited to get all the information about the property and stuff. And they told me that they've already got meetings with 3 investors that are interested in investing with them. Isn't that cool? And they've just been in the program since, you know what, I can't even remember exactly. I think they joined the 90-day program in April. So they're so excited to have their first building under contract. And it's a good one. So they're quite excited. I don't think they'll have any challenge raising the money for it. Good morning, Drew. Drew says, can you joint venture on properties that you already own but want to be able to pull cash from? give up half ownership in exchange for 20% cash payment from an investor. Yes, absolutely, Drew, you can. And it's a great way too, because you know what? If you've got an established property, you can show them the numbers, and there's no speculation there. You can show them the numbers that you already have. So it's a great way. Although if the mortgage is in your name, I wouldn't give up 50%. I would make it less, because you've already guaranteed the mortgage. You're on the mortgage, but to pull out just the cash, they're not on the mortgage. They're not responsible for the mortgage. Give them less. 35, 40% is still a great number. We've actually, because our biggest challenge is not the cash. We can get cash, but our biggest challenge is being able to qualify for the mortgages. So what we've even done on some of our joint ventures is we give people 20 or 25% just for holding the mortgage for us. And you know what? And if you do that wrong, it can be considered mortgage fraud. But if you do a full joint venture agreement that says, yes, I'm a partner on this, and you've got that registered, there's nothing wrong with doing that. And yeah, it's a great way. So that's something to keep in mind, because the rate you're going, you're going to have, pretty soon you're going to have too many mortgages in your name, and you're going to have to get your joint venture partners to put the mortgages in their name. So keep that in mind, that, yeah, we've got a few right now where they've done the mortgage only. We put in the money and we look after everything, and they got 25% of a deal. So great way to do that too. Good question. Awesome. Mike, you're so sweet. Should run for president in US. You would destroy Donald or Hillary. Oh, don't get me started on those two. I'm just glad that they're not running here. But because really, to me, they're both hard to pick, although I still think I'd pick the Donald over the Hillary. So we'll see. We probably get some comments on that. What I see about Donald is, and I loved his show, The Apprentice. A lot of people think he's an asshole and that sort of things. And you know what? He is a little bit of one. He's a little bit chauvinistic and different stuff like that too. But you got to take the good with the bad. And you know what I think that he's got that the States has been missing with all their past presidents, and that is a business aptitude. He knows how to run a business, and he knows what it takes to make money. And sometimes countries have to be run like a business, because otherwise you're just going in the hole. And that's what's happening with the US right now. They're going bigger and bigger and bigger in the hole. They need a business person in there to turn that around, not a bleeding heart, and a little bit of a crook like I think Hillary is. They line their own pockets. That's what they look at doing. And you know what? Donald doesn't have to line his own pockets. He's got money of his own. He's in there. He doesn't need the government money. I'm sure he'll do some of the same thing, because I think they all do. They give their people money and stuff like that. Or jobs to create money. They'll give contracts to their own people. I mean, I think that's just standard to happen. It's kind of like us as business owners. We'll pick our children or people we like, as opposed to the person who's giving us the best price. It's not always about the best price. It's about who you trust, who you like to deal with, and who you want to have a share of that money. It's just like when you get more established and you're getting joint venture partners. You know what? Who are you going to give your next best deal to? If you have a guy that's already got 3 properties with you and he's an awesome joint venture partner, you're going to give it to him more so than that joint venture partner who's kind of cranky all the time. Absolutely, you will. And I've had instances of that. I've got a couple joint venture partners. They're just awesome to deal with. I shouldn't say a couple. 95% of my investors are absolutely awesome to deal with. They're great people. They understand the markets. They understand that we don't have control over everything. They understand when there's mistakes made. We're not happy when mistakes get made. We're not happy when the markets go down. We're on the same side of the fence as the investor. That's where you want to be. So we definitely give priority to great investors. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So if you're a president or prime minister or owner of your own company, you're going to do that. Just like, our kids will say something happened at school. Oh, it's not fair. They put their favorites on the team and stuff. And I go, you know what? Get used to it, because that's life. We all put our favorites on our team, right? So when your kids say it's not fair, just let them know that that's something they got to start looking forward to. They got to make it so that those teachers and those coaches want them on their team, right? Doesn't that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to go back. I got a couple more comments here. Hi, Sky. Welcome. Okay, so Gilly says, I started with a condo, then an old house, now renting a 3-bedroom bungalow. I will not sell my farm and have another business. Well, thanks, Gilly. She says, first time I've heard you and you're wonderful. I'm not sure what you mean by I will not sell my farm, or are you saying I will now sell my farm? Sometimes those autocorrects are terrible. And Drew says, sound like you're pushing O'Leary as PM for Canada. You know what? I kind of like that guy too. Some of the stuff that he says on Dragon's Den, and I'm a big Dragon Den fan too. It makes sense. You can't be a bleeding heart and run a good business. You've got to do stuff. And I understand that there's got to be some of that. I absolutely understand that. Business people don't have to be the ones that do it, though. You've got to make business decisions sometimes, even if it's got to be good for the company as opposed to just good for the people. Because look at GM, they had their pension and their wages so high that they ended up going bankrupt. Well, does that do any good? No, it doesn't do any good at all. The company's now, I'm not sure what kind of shape it's in now, but I remember following it at the time, went into bankruptcy because they couldn't afford all that stuff. Well, that doesn't do any good at all. So if you're running a company, you have to think of the company first. Just like when you're doing joint venture partnerships and stuff like that, you have to think of yourself first, because if you're not a healthy business person, guess what? That's going to catch up to you, and then you're not going to be able to attract more investors. So it is okay to look after yourself first. Hi, Georgina. Welcome. And hi, Chandel. You got on. And Chandel, I got to tell you here, you know what? You know how we practiced yesterday and said that I'd be able to see myself on my laptop? I can't. So if you come up with some little tips for me, I'm welcome to hear them, but I'm not seeing the Facebook Live here. All I see is my good friend Georgina's picture that says, happy birthday, Peanut, to her dog, 16 years young today. So happy birthday, Peanut. We love you too. Any other questions that we have on here? Chandel says, oh no. Yeah, you know what? Sometimes when you practice stuff, it doesn't always work. That's why, look at me. See, I got my glasses on. I just went to hell with the vanity. I just got to be able to read what people say so we can make it work. I think I've answered all the questions that I've gotten so far. Let's see how far we're in. Well, you know what? We're almost in 30 minutes, which is kind of what I'd planned. So if there's no more questions today, I'm going to sign off. Just to let you know, we had a really great meeting at the Prophet in the Prairies on Wednesday night. We had an accountant out, and he did a very, very good job of speaking, teaching us about the proper way to be managing our paperwork and stuff. And then we had Rennie Kleinott from Calgary, who is a partner of ours. We've got a few deals on the go with him. We've also bought several properties from him, several apartment buildings, because they get a lot of deals presented to them, and then they in turn present them to us. Again, it's a relationship business, and if people like to deal with you, and you're not nickel and diming them on every single thing that comes your way, and you're okay with everybody making money on a deal, you're going to get more deals handed your way. So keep that in mind too. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Hi, Kurt. Welcome. Kurt just joined the 90 Day to 5K program yesterday, so you've got some of your fellow students on the call too. Rob says, will you comment on rental apartments in small towns and the risk involved? You know what? That's a really good question, Rob. You know, small towns have never been my favorite, especially for houses. But one of our best apartment buildings that we own is in La Ronge, Saskatchewan. So small town, I think it's less than 2,500 people. Now, there's things that you really need to research your town. You need to know what's going on there. If it's a dying town and there's no industry there at all, I wouldn't be buying. If it's a town that's got good industry, like say in Saskatchewan, it's potash or oil based, you know what? There's always going to be workers there. A long time. So you'll be fine for both houses and apartment buildings. But think about that. Like one of the reasons, or one of the things when we were raising money for La Ronge, we had a lot of people say, no, you know what, just not going to look at a small town. And you know what, part of that was from my own teachings, because I always said, you know, it's a lot safer if you're in a big city, because even if vacancy rate is 6, 8, 10%, you can still make money on your building. But in a small town, if there's no industry there and you've got 50% vacancy, a little tough. Plus, there's no appreciation of value either. But La Ronge is the gateway to the north. And there's not a lot of homes being built there. And the reason is not a lot of people want to think of that as a home base that they want to live forever. So rentals are really popular up there. And, the rents were quite low when we took over the building. So we were able to increase the rents and build ourselves up some equity in that building. So there's definitely a little bit more risk in a small town. So I would be asking what the vacancy rate is. Don't just listen to the seller, but get some word out on the street. Talk to other tenants. What are they paying for rent? What do they want to pay for rent? What appeals to them about looking at a different rental property, and what kind of lease they'd sign if you bought a building and they moved in, what kind of amenities they're looking for, and take it from there. But really, really do the research on the town. Even go meet with the town office and see what they have coming up, because sometimes the town knows stuff that's coming up that the people living there don't. Gilly says, not sell farm. Nature is very getting personal, but we did have a special meeting that first time. Yes. Okay. Great. Well, good. I'm glad you've got some buildings. That's really important. Rob says, where do you see the rental market going in the near future? You know what? Actually, that reminds me, one of the things I wanted to talk about today. So thank you very much. These are the questions that are really good. When we talk about the market cycle, there's the trough and the boom and that sort of thing. And I'm not going to draw it on the board right now, just because all my boards are kind of all full. But just think of it this way. Think of it as a curvy line up and down. Okay. So if you're looking at a curvy line and you've got your high spots and your low spots, where I think we are in Regina right now is just a little bit below or above the lowest part. So I think we will see a little bit of a drop yet, maybe a little higher vacancy rate, and maybe a little lower house pricing. But it's not going to stay there. We're going to go down maybe a little bit more, maybe stay flat for even up to a year. And I can't see it lasting longer than that. And then we're going to see an upward trend. So if you're looking at purchasing, now's a good time to purchase. Not a good time to refinance, because the banks are not liking any refinance opportunities right now. But we're in a market that's a good time to buy. We're seeing lots and lots of opportunities, and some of those opportunities are because people were building they started out in a good market, and by the time they were finished, the market wasn't so good. So we actually have almost new building under contract for not as much as it would cost us to build it. So you start watching for those opportunities, you're going to get them. Crisis gives opportunities. That's what you need to know. So when vacancy rates are higher, people get frustrated. They think, geez, I thought the good times were going to go on forever. You're going to get a good building. we're working on one right now. I think the seller's just frustrated with the market. From what I've kind of heard, they haven't been the best manager, maybe of their own property. So they're looking at selling. Is it the best time to sell? No, because you know what? Apartment buildings haven't got down. They're still very solid in pricing. We're looking at, I think the cheapest we got recently was 105 a door. The one we got the offer on now is 115 a door. So the pricing hasn't gone down. We haven't got anything less than that. Corny, welcome, Corny. He says, don't rub it in. We would have loved to have been there. Well, you know what? And Corny, you would especially love this Wednesday because you know what? It was our anniversary. So it was our 1 year anniversary. So we treated all the members to a really nice cocktail and appetizer dinner before the meeting. And you know what? I think that is a great opportunity to build relationships with people. Everybody had a really good time. The meeting seemed to be better than ever. I said to one of the people there, I'm not sure if it was because we all had a drink beforehand or what, but the meeting was exceptionally good last night. So for you members that weren't able to make it, it should be on the website anytime. So you tell me if it was as good as we thought it was. And Merlin joined. Hey, hi, Merlin. How are you? Good to see you on here. Chandel says, you're doing an awesome job. Just wanted to jump on and say hello. Great. Thanks, Chandel. Julie says, love your comments and common sense. Politics, I'm not sure. You know what? I've never been very political. As a matter of fact, I don't even think I voted till we became business owners because it just wasn't important to me. I always thought, you know what, I'm going to let the people vote who follow this stuff because I couldn't even sit and watch those guys on TV. They drive me crazy when they're debating and whining and crying to each other. It just absolutely drives me crazy. And so I couldn't even listen to them. I would read some stuff and most of it was just too boring for me. And I went, whatever. Because you know what? I honestly believe that we make our own world and it doesn't matter what's happening in the economy. It doesn't happen. It doesn't matter which politician is in. You know, there's some things that make a difference. Like I'm really happy now that in Saskatchewan, we've got a business minded government. That makes a huge difference for people like us. And that's when I started to vote when stuff like that come up. And, you know, I think it's important for business people, too, to educate our kids because guess who's educating our kids? Teachers. Guess what kind of government teachers like? And you know what? I know that for a fact because my kids come home, they tell me who they vote for in school, and I just get mortified thinking, oh my God, I got to teach my kids better than that because you know what? It's up to us. We can't let other people mold the minds of our children. If we're going to get the breaks that business owners need to, you know, provide good housing so that we can actually make a living without the government jumping in and trying to do rent control and stuff like that, then, and I might get people not liking my comments, but you know what? I'm a business person, so I have to look out for myself. If you're a tenant or a person that is on disability or welfare, you have to look out for yourself too. So you go ahead and vote the way you want to. I'm just not going to vote the way you are. So sorry about that. But we got to look after ourselves first and foremost, I think. Corny says, I just read a report on Winnipeg real estate on the fact that prices are still on the rise. Good place to invest. Yes, and you know what it is? We bought a building in Winnipeg this spring. We're looking at another one here this fall in Manitoba. And I agree, prices are on the rise. It's a great place to invest and a good time to invest. Hi, Ashley. Hi, Damon. No worries, Damon. I know you're late. Do you have any questions for me? That would be awesome. I was just saying that I'm almost done here. It's like, oh, we're going on to 10:40. Man, can I talk sometimes, hey? Thanks, Marja. So, hi, Simon. How are you? How's that project going in Winnipeg that you were working on last time I talked to you? I know you're a busy guy. You probably got lots on the go. Any other questions on here? You know, the other thing that I read just the other day, and I always recommend to people to get this report if they don't get it now, and that's the CMHC report that comes out from CMHC, and it comes out monthly, and they talk about prairie highlights and stuff like that. And even in there, they're saying if you look at the house prices, it's going to be turning around, maybe kind of flat in 2017, but 2018 we're going. One of my mentors that I follow in Alberta, Russell Westcott, he's been a speaker on the RAIN stage, I think he said for 12 years, and now he's stepping down. And the reason is he wants to go full bore in investing because he thinks now is a great time to invest. And guess what, people? He's in Alberta. So what does that tell you? If one of the experts in that area is stepping down from his speaking, and I'm not sure all the duties he had with RAIN, but he was absolutely awesome. He's a Saskatchewan boy, and I love RAIN. It's a great a real estate investing club. I follow everything that they do. And so I was kind of excited to hear that he's stepping down from his duties there so he can concentrate on his beliefs, he called it, and that is getting more properties under his name. So I thought that was really interesting. So anybody on here who's wondering, is now a good time to invest? Absolutely, now's a good time to invest. So start finding those joint venture partners. Start sharing with people what you think's happening out there. Share the CMHC report so it's third party and not just something you're saying, but third party reflections on stuff that's going on. They go right into rents and what vacancy rates are and stuff like that. Although I don't find that they're 100% on vacancy rates, they do have some good reporting, so it's good to know. Ashley, do you have any good questions for me? I sure had a lot of good comments and stuff at the mastermind. So Ashley's a realtor here in Regina too, and very, very smart young lady. So she might be able to give us. Do you want to comment a bit on what you see happening in the market here in Regina? I think there might be a bit of a delay before things come up, but that's okay too. If I don't have any more questions, I think though I will sign off because I do have another appointment at 11 o'clock. So thank you all very, very much for being on. We are definitely going to be doing this every Friday, same time. I call it my free coaching Friday. So any questions you have, always keep in mind that, you know what, if you've got the question, there's a very good chance that other people have the question. So sharing it on here is a great place. And sometimes it makes me really stretch my thinking cap, and I get a chance to view some of my ideas on here. So I really appreciate you all being on here. I don't see any more questions, so I'm going to sign off. So everyone have an absolutely fantastic weekend. I imagine a few of you will be dressing up and going out to the Halloween parties. I know there's lots going around here, so it'll be a lot of fun. So take care, and we will talk to you next Friday. Bye for now. Great, Damon. Yeah, I'd love to hear what's going on with you. Give me a call.